There's always enough money sounds really nice when you compare it to there's never enough money. What happens with people who believe there's always enough money is they don't actually check. They don't measure. I found myself advising multimillionaires during the day on what to do with their investment portfolios and coming home at night to a stack of bills that I would not open because I could not pay them. Well, choose your pain, right? You either have the pain of discipline or the disappointment of regret. I could not afford a tank of gas for my brand new leased BMW. If affirmations worked, we'd all be skinny and rich, right? Really not intelligence or intention. It has to be psychology. I mean, what is the precursor to your behavior? It's your psychology, right?
Yeah.
So there's something broken up in my money brain.
Hey, Slay Nation, it's your host, Heather, back with another episode of the So She Slays podcast. I am very excited to have Hilary Hendershott in the studio today. It is January. It is the beginning of 2026, and we are exploring all the new ways in which we should be better, or at least do better, or maybe learn to do better. It's the new me, like what new year, new me kind of status. And I really want to talk about wealth and money, because I know all of y'all who are listening are like, wealth in this economy? Like, I'm trying to freaking pay my rent right now. I get it. You know, I live in California, so it's a thing. But a lot of times when it comes to money mindset, a lot of us, we're just never really taught how it actually works, and taught, the only way to earn money is to work really, really hard and to be grateful and to just show up every day and put in your time, effort, and energy. And, I don't really think that that's the truth. So Hilary is the founder and chief advisor of Hendershott Wealth Management. And she is here to talk to us about this very subject when it comes to money, why it's emotional, how to change your mindset. She herself, I'm sure, is going to speak upon her own money situations. She's had to start, in her words, below zero before all over again. So before we dive into this conversation and really address the honest, realistic versions of a money mindset and what the heck that actually means, Hilary, give us a spiel. Like, what's going on in life? How are ya? Happy New Year.
Well, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good these days. Let's see. I manage a team of about 10 people. We're a full service wealth management firm. But, two things can be true at the same time. About 20 years ago, I guess it is at this point, I found myself advising multimillionaires during the day on what to do with their investment portfolios and coming home at night to a stack of bills that I would not open because I could not pay them.
We've all been there. We've all just we're not today.
It really was. I used to say, if I earned $100,000, I would spend 120. Money really burned a hole in my pocket. I was definitely engaged in the project of convincing other people that I was already successful. What I should have been doing is actually doing the things that have you get there, right? Because money responds to actions. And so not only do we have to have the positive mindsets about money, but also the positive and constructive actions around money. Slowly saving in the beginning. Nope, I was slowly overspending. So, I've had the pleasure of being able to share these lessons with lots of people at this point on my podcast and various programs I've run. And so, things are really turned around for myself, but I'm excited to have this conversation with you and your listeners. Where should we start? Where do we even
start? Okay. So I think we need to build some relatability in this thing, because you yourself, you're like, I work in finance. I work in money. I deal with portfolios that are like huge. You said multi-million-dollar portfolios, but you were coming home and you're like, I can't pay my own bills. Let's talk that.
Yeah.
Because that's not what a lot of people would ever think about anybody who manages that much money.
I know. And the really insidious thing is, I have a head for numbers. I do spreadsheets. I used to tutor the math portion of the SAT, right? Like I may not be a math PhD, but math is not my weakness.
Numbers are a thing for you. I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was a certified financial planner at the time. And so the fact that I got myself in so much financial trouble is the evidence that we and your listeners need to know it isn't your math skills that make the difference, right?
Mhm.
Here's kind of how everything went down. So at one point, I found myself, I had a leased BMW convertible. It was this beautiful car. And I pulled it into a gas station and I needed a tank of gas. And I put my credit card in. I had two credit cards. I put my credit card in and it was maxed out. It got declined. And I put the next credit card in and that was maxed out. It got declined.
No.
Both of them with about $25,000 balance on them. Okay. So we're
Wow.
talking about $50,000 of credit card debt and no more credit line. Like I had no
Mm.
more money to borrow. I put in my debit card and my checking account balance was at zero. So I could not afford a tank of gas for my brand new leased BMW, right? It was literally the end of the line. There was nowhere left to go. I had to walk home from the gas station.
No.
Yes, yes, yes. And I said to myself, I mean, I was in my late 20s at that time, working in my father's financial planning firm. So I was his business continuation plan. He was mentoring me into the business. And I had this little coaching conversation with myself. And I said, well, Hilary, everywhere you go, there you are. I said, if I continue, I can really see if I continue to have the same behaviors around money, if I keep doing the same things, I'm going to have more, better, bigger, different versions of this bad outcome. I mean, I had constant financial emergencies. My parents had to bail me out. I had borrowed more money than at that time my condo was worth, right? It happened to be the real estate
Yeah.
recession. 05, 06, that
Yeah.
time period. I had $430,000 of mortgage debt on a condo that fell to $190,000 in fair market value.
Wow.
So a massive amount of uncollateralized debt that I ended up negotiating with the credit union to walk away from, credit score in the 500s. It was embarrassing. I was ashamed. I felt like here, my parents had paid for this private school education, degree in economics, 3.96 GPA. I feel like the worst kind of like drag on society. I had every opportunity to be successful, got out of college with no debt, and I had tanked it.
Ugh.
And I really had this conversation with myself as like, okay, this is the bottom of the barrel for me. This is the end of the line. Whatever I'm doing with money, I'm going to do the exact opposite. And so I got really transparent. I started telling people I actually have no money. Right. I moved out of that condo. Thank God for my mother's guest room. I would have been homeless. I
Yeah.
lived in my mother's guest room in my late 20s. That was brutal on the dating life. Okay.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah. And I started counting all the debt, putting it all together, the BMW, the credit cards, the mortgage debt, right? And it was at that time, it was over $500,000 in accumulated debt, and I started negotiating it down. But more importantly, is the things I stopped doing. If you were my friend and you called me and said, let's go out to dinner or let's grab drinks on Saturday, I would say to you, listen, girl, if we're going out for drinks, you're paying because I don't have any money right now. And it was hard. It was hard to say that. But, and some people would take me out for drinks and some people didn't. And that's fine. It's not the point. I lived on a food budget of $8 a day for 2 years. I did. Okay. I mean, I really got real about money because I had to pay for my current life. I mean, life has overhead,
Yeah.
right? I had to pay for the life I had today. And I also had to make payments on my debt. It took me years to get to a net worth of zero, right? But during that period of time, I was working on how am I going to reverse engineer success here? What is the difference between me and my friends and colleagues? I see people We all have good intentions with money. They have good results. I have bad ones. What's the difference?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I know it's not the math skills, right? I mean, come on, personal finance is arithmetic. It's adding and subtracting. It's not even like,
very concrete. It's
yeah,
very, there's not a lot of room for like,
right.
fudging it or whatever.
Right. You're either saving every month or you're debting it, or you're not, or you're debting every month, right? And so I said, okay, so it's clearly not intelligence or intention. It has to be psychology. I mean, what is the precursor to your behavior? It's your psychology, right?
Yeah.
So there's something broken up in my money brain. And so, of course, as a financial advisor, I get to go to these conferences, and there's typically two tracks. There's the technical track, and there's the money psychology or behavioral advice, they call it, track, right? So I started going to those tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw this speaker. Her name is Denise Hughes. She's still a very good friend. I didn't know her when I walked into this room. And she said the word overspender. Now, I had never heard this term when I heard, now it's in the zeitgeist now. Overspender is a common term.
Oh, yeah.
But that was the first time I heard it. And when she said it, I knew I was one.
You're like, hey, that's me.
Yeah. That's me. There's a word for it. There's a diagnosis. And what she said was, if you're if you're in debt, probably you're an overspender or an under earner. I wasn't really an under earner. I was earning a good wage, right? I was just spending everything I earned and then some.
Okay.
And so I really dived into the topic of neuropsychology. Neuropsychology is the field from which the concept of brain plasticity, neuroplasticity comes from. So you have changed your brain over your lifetime. So think about ways in which your mindsets have shifted over time, maybe on politics, or maybe about your physical health and how you take care of that, or maybe on how you relate to women and men. And I mean, these are things that have shifted for me over my lifetime. Those are examples of neuroplasticity, and you can alter your brain about money as well. One really profound thing I read about the power of language, for example, is just to give you an easy to understand metaphor. The Russian language actually has 5 different words for the color blue. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
And if you put an English speaker next to a Russian speaker, a native Russian speaker, the Russian can actually see more colors, more blue colors. So that will actually bring distinction. No, that's a different color than that one, where the English speaker will say, no, that's just all blue.
Yeah.
Right. So the idea of having a word for something is determinant of our experience of that thing. And so kind of expanding on that thought, time is super conceptual, and so is money. Okay.
Okay.
When you're a kid, it's difficult to understand this thing that adults are talking about called money. As an example of time. So if I say, time goes quickly when you're having fun.
Yeah.
Right? You have this experience of alacrity, energy, joy, right? Or if you go, oh, time kills. That's a downer. That's kind of a depressing thing to say, right? Like, I'm like, there's nothing but time ahead of me, kind of like life is long. I'm not sure what to do with it, kind of an experience. These are just ways to describe a conceptual thing called time. Money is similar. Kids can't understand what money is. So you say to your mom or dad, what is money? Or you're listening to them talk, or sometimes, unfortunately, argue about money. And they say things like, money doesn't grow on trees.
Yes.
They say,
look, not my family, not that exact wordage. Money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work really hard for money.
You have to work hard for money.
You only have so much, and you have to decide where it's going to go, because you can't have it all.
Oh, I now know your entire money operating system.
Yep, literally. Well, and I love the fact that I'm speaking to you, because literally, like, this has been a thing of mine in the past couple of years, where I am identifying within, because here's the thing. It's one thing to say it, right? And it's one thing to acknowledge it. But I think a lot of times is you fall back in the habit, unknowingly you fall back in the habit. And so you have to make the conscious effort to be aware and be like, oh shoot, I'm going down that way again. Nope, we have to stop. What do we do now?
I'm actually going to give you a better way. I'm going to give you a better way. Yeah. Yeah. So for me, it was, there's never enough money.
Yes.
My mom was a good earner, but she was a really good saver. So, but
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't see her 401k when I was young. I didn't know about that. Right.
I mean, what 10-year-old does?
Right. Right. All I knew is I couldn't she would only give me $5 to buy birthday gifts for my friends. So I was like embarrassed at the birthday party. My gift wasn't as luxurious as the others. Okay. And I was on the basketball team. I'm 5'10". Okay. In high school, I'm on the basketball team. Everyone has Nike high tops. My mom took me to Payless Shoe Source and I got Pro Wings. I don't know if you're too young to remember
No,
Payless
I remember.
Shoe Source.
Look, my mother took me to Payless Shoe Stores too.
Okay. And I was embarrassed. I had these Pro Wings shoes. I called them Likeies.
I mean, you're not wrong.
So for me, there was never enough money. And then also my parents got divorced. My dad did not want to pay child support to my mom. He would say to me, I don't want to pay her money. I don't want to owe her money. I don't want her to have that kind of power over me. And so I said, oh, money is power. So I got, there's never enough money and money is power. So here I am spending money, because the really insidious thing, when you believe there's never enough money and money comes into your life or your bank account, well, now you have a problem. You have a problem called there's money, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you solve that problem? Because your brain cannot hold contradictions. You know, this is it burns a hole in your pocket. So for people for whom it's true that money burns a hole in your pocket, that's your experience, is once it comes into your bank account, you either desire to spend it or it's already spent or obligated or promised in some way. Probably what's true for you is there's never enough money. And I mean, I just spent money hand over fist trying to convince you that I had power, but really power for me was success. It's like, oh, I have money. You're going to watch me spend it. I'm going to spend it on you. I'm going to pay for your vacation. I'm going to take you out to dinner. I would pay for the whole group to have dinner.
Yeah.
Right. When really I was going into debt to do it. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So how do we unravel that? So first thing is accept that you do have money beliefs. You know, Heather's been generous in sharing hers today. As you're listening to this, probably you're thinking of some of the things your parents said about money. You know, other ones that haven't been mentioned, common ones are money is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
Okay. Very destructive. It's a very destructive money operating system because we need money and wealth in this life in the way that society is arranged today. And if you believe money is the root of all evil, you will always be conflicted about it. You won't be able to be with that you actually want financial success. In the area of money, you want financial success, and that won't be acceptable to you until you unravel that money mindset. And then there's other ones that are sort of, lead to sort of blithe wandering about money. And that's like, there's always enough money. So interestingly, there's always enough money sounds really nice when you compare it to there's never enough money. What happens with people who believe there's always enough money is they don't actually check. They don't measure.
In case you haven't heard, we're launching a Patreon. It's called So She Slays Unfiltered AF. In the Patreon, you're going to get the So She Slays podcast and the Hangover podcast. Think being able to be a part of the conversation, submitting questions, submitting topics, live streaming. Now, we're still going to have the audio version and the video version right now that we have currently for free, but this is just like all the bonus content. Now, we launch March 2nd, if I can say that right. Now, you can get founder pricing right now as low as like $4 a month, but you can only do it if you join the guest list. If you join the guest list, you lock in the founder pricing forever. To do that, head on over to socislays.com/unfilteredaf or comment and I'll send you a link.
You don't actually check to see if there is enough money.
That's correct. I once had someone call me. She literally was 65 years old. She said, I just retired. I just walked out of my retirement party. I've resigned from my employer. I saved $200,000. I said, dear goodness, call your boss and beg for that job back. Right?
Yeah.
Because $200,000 is enough for about 3 years of retirement, my friend.
It's not gonna work.
No, not at all. So that's an example of she was so proud of herself. And so that's an example of there's always enough money. Okay, so those are kind of the common. One more that I do see, especially with women, is if I'm good or if I'm virtuous, either the universe will provide, or sometimes it's daddy, sometimes it's mommy provides, right? So these people are completely disconnected from the actual mechanics of money. They just truly believe that if they live life in a moral way, the money will just show up, and inevitably someday it stops showing up. Right? Like it was true for a while or for a short period of time or even a long period of time, but it will dry up eventually. Is accept that these beliefs are there. You are imprinted with this. I still have, there's never enough money. Sometimes I look at the amount, I have a team of 10, okay? I look at the amount of money that I owe every 2 weeks in payroll and I choke. I mean, it's like, are you kidding me? I don't have enough money. Oh, wait, that's all. No, I actually do have enough money. So you can, so get, be serene and accepting about the fact that your money mindsets exist. And now let's talk about how to unravel them. In order to really transcend your money mindsets, you have to create an environment in which your money mindset, or money operating system, as I trademark that term, money operating system, isn't true. You have to contradict it. Okay. So first, get curious. Don't start with, if your money mindset is there's never enough money or money doesn't grow on trees, don't start with, I am a magnet, I am a Midas magnet for money, and I come home at night to piles of cash that I sleep in and cover myself, right? Because that's not gonna, if affirmations worked, we'd all be skinny and rich, right?
Facts.
It's like, I wonder what it would be like. Get curious. Just like, I wonder what it would be like if I made $250,000 a year. Or I wonder what it would feel like if I had a net worth of 7 figures or more, right? Like, I wonder. Just start with I wonder statements. Journal on that, right?
Yeah.
Now, for me to unravel there's never enough money, I had to automate in my life there being plenty of money. That meant for me setting up a series in the world of reality. I created 5 or 6 or 7 different bank accounts, a couple different checking accounts, and multiple savings accounts. And I set up a series of automated transfers. So I took the decisions off of present day me. I reverse engineered my own success. Money would come in. I would have it go to pay off debt. When the debt was paid off, it started going to savings accounts. Yeah. I'm now saving for my next car. I'm saving for my next house. I'm saving for the holidays, holiday gifting, right? I'm saving for my next vacation. That's 4 different savings accounts. So I became a person who only paid cash for things, but I wouldn't let myself look at those savings accounts. And then what was left over after either the debt payoff or the savings was what my spending account. That's the account that I carried around a debit card for years. And I'm not serious about $8 a day in food. I hope it's not that dire for you if you're listening, but I
don't even know what you can get for $8 a day now.
I know. I mean, I went to a lot of networking events and hung out at the buffet. Okay.
Well, 2 birds with 1 stone. You got to eat. And you gotta meet people. So there you go.
You got to drum up business. Yeah, exactly. And I carried around that debit card. And then on my mobile device, I would look at the balance of that checking account. Now you get paid every 2 weeks. If you're an entrepreneur, you can also set it up so you get paid every 2 weeks. That's a short enough period of time where you have a sense of, okay, I'm going to spend, if I have $300 or $400 or $500 to spend over the next 2 weeks, I can sort of mentally watch the balance decline and plan for, okay, this needs to stretch 4 more days. It needs to stretch 2 more days. And literally, Heather, if you are not, for me, if I was at zero in that bank account, I mean, I didn't have any credit cards, right? No one would give me any additional credit. And if you can't be trusted with credit, I encourage you to put your credit cards on ice.
Yeah.
Literally, I put them in Dixie cups full of water and put them in your freezer. And if my bank account balance, my spending account, remember, my savings accounts are already filled. If my spending account is at zero, I cannot go into the savings accounts and pull or draft money over. I would literally not spend money for 2 days. And so, I mean, I would keep cup of noodles, cans of beans, like food in my pantry so that I could eat and not spend money, right? And this is the literal system. Sorry, I keep kicking my desk and it's shaking the camera. I'm like, I'm all animated.
I love it.
This is the spending system that dug me out of $500,000 in debt. And my personal marital net worth at this current today, as I speak to you, is multiple 7 figures. I could retire. Like I am wealthy enough to retire. So I am personal proof that this system works. I have many multimillionaire clients I've taught this system to who were never broke or in debt like I was, but they use it to manage, for example, their retirement spending. They use this multiple account system because when you're retired, you still have some lumpy expenses, a new roof, new furniture, a new car every once in a while. The holiday spending is always a lumpy expense depending on how many people you gift for. And they need to budget in that way. And they use this multiple account system. I think of it like irrigation in your garden. Like irrigation is those little tubes, and it brings the water to the flowers and plants where the water is needed. And this irrigation system in your bank account takes the savings, the funds to the things you care about, your goals, your priorities, your future plans, right? And so I have training systems on this automation system, but automation, I think, is a prerequisite for almost anyone. I mean, it is an alternative to budgeting. So I don't know what you use for budgeting. I've seen hundreds of people in my career try to build budgets. Budgets don't work for many people because they are a count up system. You have to watch your line items and count up how much you've spent in a particular category and then true it up to the category. Nobody does it.
Yeah. It's hard too. Like, it's hard. Who wants to actually spend time doing that?
No, and if you miss one line item, you're off. And then how are you gonna QC your work, right? And so this automation system is an alternative to that. It's a spend down system. So let's say you have $1,000 in your spending account every 2 weeks. You literally spend that account down to zero. And all your financial goals are being provided for at the same time, right? So depending on how reliable you are with, like I said, spending, savings, you cannot transfer money from savings accounts into your spending account. You just have to not allow yourself to do that. But you can, for example, send that money over to a completely different bank so that when you log in to see the balance of your spending account, it's not even there, right? Yeah. And this, for those of you who are listening and running businesses, if you've read the book Profit First, this is basically Profit First for your personal accounts. Okay. And when I don't offer fractional CFO services at this current time, but I have run coaching programs like this where we manage the money for business owners, and we literally would have 5 personal accounts in bank accounts titled to the business, and then 5 accounts titled to the business, because that's what Profit First teaches. And the money just irrigates its way through your system. It's beautiful. And the other benefit is you're set free. Yeah. You can go run your business. You can be a parent. You can be a wife. You can be a spouse. You can do your marketing. You can do what you do best. And your money is following the plan that you took the time to create for it in the past that works for you. And you know exactly how much you can spend at the point of sale and still be on track to reach your financial goals.
So I think like to kind of recap what we just said too, like in deconstructing our money mindsets, we really just have to like, I feel like people can get really lost in trying to deconstruct their beliefs and their belief system. So
I know there are some experts who really romance the
yeah,
current money mindset.
exactly.
They tell you, what are your experience as a child? As if that means anything, right? Like most
Yeah,
of us have parents who have broken money mindsets because they have parents who have broken money mindsets,
it's
right? Like,
generational.
yeah, I mean, people in general, I would say 80% of people are kind of, I don't know if I could swear on this
You
podcast,
can.
kind of fucked up about money.
Yeah.
Like,
Everybody
yeah.
I talk to have some sort of fucked up money mindset, myself included. All right.
Yeah, it's rare to have a productive mindset and habits around money. You need both. You need the mindset and you need the habits. So the idea that you should look to your childhood or the nascent imprints that you have about money and romance them or keep them around or talk about them in your relationship, I completely reject that.
Yeah. Yeah.
For most of us, you should go, yep, that's what I believe. Yep, I can see it manifested in my behavior. Great, let's put that on a shelf.
Mhm.
Now let's do something better.
Okay. Okay.
Right?
So, and
Right?
that's
And
kind of like what I was saying with you, right? Like, oh, those are my money mindsets. I'm actively being like, oh, okay, that's not I am falling back into old habits. And I know that there's a lot of people that can relate to that. They're like, oh, I realize that like when I'm like, oh, I have a lack type of mindset and all this kind of stuff, that they're just kind of like, okay, but I don't really know what to do next. We said create like kind of like you said, your system, your
it's the automation.
the automation system or
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. And not necessarily make it so that I think that's what it is, like what gets people a lot with like money mindsets. They're just like, it's so like, oh gosh, whimsical. It's so like, with how people talk
It
about it.
seems airy fairy. It seems
Yeah,
woo.
exactly. It seems very all set in the woo woo, which I get to a certain extent because energy, the way you talk to yourself, the story you tell yourself has power. But when it comes to money,
Oh, I would say it's deterministic. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so here's my thing though. It's like, but money itself has power. And you also, like, I've heard people talk about, um, quite the opposite. Like, oh, nobody likes to feel constrained on a budget. Like, nobody likes to feel like they can't. But it's like, sometimes you really can't, though.
Well, choose your pain, right? You either have the pain of discipline or the disappointment of regret.
I mean, facts.
It's like, I don't go to the gym because I enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, look, same. We go because we have to.
Right.
So I feel like too, it's just like, what do you think? Like, if you could pinpoint a formula on the way
Mm-hmm.
people can approach this, and I know I'm simplifying this a lot, but I feel like sometimes people, like, listeners, do not take it verbatim, because sometimes when people oversimplify things, there's a lot in the nuance. I'm trying to give y'all a jumping off point to explore your own things that you need to do. So when I say formula, I say, what are our jumping off points in trying to rewire our beliefs?
I'm going to walk you through a framework I call the 7 steps to wealth. Okay. And then if you want, I go into real depth with this in episode 77 of my podcast. We could potentially send you a link.
Yes.
You can put it in the show notes if you want. My podcast is called Love Your Money. So the first step is decide. Okay. Most of us have not decided to be wealthy. In retrospect, looking back at my own journey, I decided on that walk home from the gas station. Because how do I know? Because the next day my behaviors changed. I literally went to work. I told you I worked for my dad, and his business partner is his wife, my stepmother. And I said to both of them, I need you to know I'm broke, like I'm bankrupt.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, what?
You're like, wait, huh? How did we get here?
Right. Because I was so determined. I had decided to do everything different about money. Okay. So if you're sitting there and you're listening to this, sure, you've wondered, you've taken stock of maybe you've thought about what your experiences were about money as a child. Maybe you've wished for different circumstances. But if you're really, really honest with yourself, you haven't decided if your behaviors haven't altered. Literally, the word decide comes from a family of words with the same root as homicide, genocide. It means to cut off all alternatives. Okay. So it's very stark, and I'm not trying to be harsh, but you got to decide. Just like you have to decide to be a person who goes to the gym, and if you don't decide, then you're not. And that's it's a stark contrast. Right. Right. Okay. So the first step is decide. And the second step is speak. And the speak portion is what we've talked about. So first of all, what are you saying? Get a journal. What are you saying to yourself about money? What are your money operating systems? What are the things you believe to be true about money? You will find your money operating system in the things you say to yourself about money. A lot of people, because money is a taboo subject, a lot of people really only talk to themselves about money, or maybe they talk to like their romantic partner about money. Okay. So you might have to like be a little private detective, but then I also encourage you to get outspoken about money. Be willing to say other things. Go like that day I went to my parent. I mean, I literally walked into the office and said, I am broke.
Yeah.
And that was a thing I had never said. I had never said it out loud. And, like I said, when my girlfriend would call me on Saturday night and say, let's go out to drinks, I will say, are you buying? I had never said that either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And then I would start, the thing I started saying that was empowering was, I don't know how I'm going to become financially free, but I'm going to. Like, I don't know exactly what it's going to take, but it is worth any level of energy and effort and work, so-called work that I have to put in. And over time, that has shifted. I mean, I would say now what I think about money is I love making money. My business makes more money than 98% of female-owned businesses. I'll make $2 million this year. I find it fun. I find it a challenge. I find it to be rewarding. And I have a mature, sophisticated relationship to making money now. Yeah. But it started with, I don't know how I'm going to do it different, but I'm going to do it different.
Yeah.
So what can you say? What can you start saying in the speak step? What can you start saying that's different from what you have been saying? So just move yourself baby steps toward, and you might take on a money mentor, like who's a friend or family member that has a great results around money. Ask them, would you mentor me? And then just start saying the things they say about money.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to throw your hat over the fence, like lead with your speaking. Okay. And then the third step is plan. And that's that automation system. I mean, it's like, if you said, how do I ride a bike? I could say, put your hands on the handlebars and put your feet on the pedals and press down and rotate. Right.
Yeah.
But no matter what I say, I can't give you the experience of balance. Right. Once you have balance, you typically don't lose it. Right. Yeah. Once you know how to ride a bike, you can go 10 years and not be on a bike and still know how to ride a bike. And this automation thing, learning to live within the automation system is like that. It just sounds like words as I'm saying it. But when you reverse automate your wealth building, I mean, your net worth should be going up most months.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. That's the goal. And so if you reverse engineer that outcome and learn to live with this one spending account, that's everything. Yeah. I'm telling you, you can pay off debt, you can maintain wealth, you can build wealth using it. And I mean, I just can't overstate its benefits. It takes a hot minute to set it up, but it scales.
Yeah.
I mean, your income tends to go up over your career. So you make more in your 30s and 40s than you did in your 20s.
Yeah.
But the automation system totally scales. All you have to do is make sure the money goes in and then it gets divided based on percentages or dollar amounts. and you're automatically going to, you'll forget, for example, that you're saving for a new car. I mean, it literally, you'll wake up and you'll go, wow, I have $50,000 in a savings account. I can walk onto the car lot. And when the guy says, do you want to finance this? I'll go, no, I'm paying cash. That's baller.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? And that's a thing, because I think there's a lot of people, you know, if you have work or whatnot and you're able to set up automations like that, you forget that it you know, pops off at the first of the month every year, and all your money gets divvied up into certain arenas, certain accounts. Because that's like that with mine, with different investments or different savings accounts and all that kind of stuff. And so I think that's the truth. You kind of forget about it because it just happens. And then, you know, the next thing you know, you look at the account and you're like, oh, wow, where'd that come from? Right. And it's just because you didn't realize it.
Correct. And that's a successful money system. I mean, it's really like miraculous.
Yes.
And real quick, those were the first 3 steps to wealth. So then, of course, and I got spiritual about all of these, almost literally. Earn. You want to focus on earning more money over time. Obviously, save. I mean, we all know we have to save money. Invest and protect. You want to build a moat around it. I say, don't do dumb shit with your money, because there's lots of people who unfortunately have made mistakes that I think they really regret, and unencumbered themselves of quite a bit of money. I mean, the nature of the planet is that it is your job to fill your bank accounts and no one else's. That there are an infinite number of ways to have money exit your life, and only a couple ways to have money enter and remain in your life. And so you want to take certain amounts of money off the table. And you do that through protective actions, not making mistakes. And of course, the various, you do want to have some insurance policies, homeowners, renters, life, umbrella, things like that.
Yeah. There's definitely different ways to go about setting this up. And I really liked our conversation about this because I feel like it's concrete. I do think that, like we said, the story, the energy, all of that kind of stuff, it matters, but the action matters just as much. And
speaking my language.
And I was like, the thing is we know all of these things, but we got to do something about it. And I mean, if you are a listener of So She Slays podcast for the last, we're on our sixth season now. If over the years, it's just, we've said this before. When it comes to money, especially, like it's all action driven. Yes. You know, nobody likes to feel like they're in debt. Nobody wants to, you know, feel like they're in constraint and they can't go do certain things or whatnot. But it just means you can't do it at the moment. You know, doesn't mean forever and always. You can get there. I have issues with the money mindset being too woo-woo and not enough of like the concrete, give me some freaking actions. Money is concrete. Okay. Like, yes.
It very much is.
So to wrap up our conversation, I have some rapid fire questions for you. And one of them is a financial rule you follow that most people don't.
A financial rule I follow that most people don't. A financial rule I follow that most people don't. I think I give away more money than most people I know. I have a budget for giving money away, and it's something I feel really good about, and it makes me happy, I feel generous, and the only time you can give something away is when you have more than enough, right?
Yes.
So for me, I have more than enough, and it is a precursor to my experience of total financial freedom. Abundance. They use that word. That word abundance is overused, but it is abundance.
Overused too, but yes, I do understand. The biggest money myth women are still being sold.
The stock market is too risky for your money. Oh yeah. I spend lots of my time, and my passion is really in educating women to have smart, evidence-based, low-cost, diversified stock market investments. my clients are in a position, some of them earn $500,000 a year, $750,000 a year. Occasionally, they will earn more in their stock market investments than they do from their wage income. And that is a situation you can create for yourself by learning to have a very deep, trusted, evidence-based relationship with the stock market.
Ooh, that's a whole other subject in itself, I feel like, because
Isn't
I feel
it?
like it's so scary for a lot of people, myself included, because I don't really know a whole lot of stocks. I mean, I have like funds in it, but I don't really know a whole lot about it. So yeah, I mean, that's a thing. We may have just incited another podcast episode.
I may have given myself another another interview invite.
Okay, something you never regret spending money on.
Oh, I never regret spending money. Not
On
anymore.
anything.
No. I mean, I guess I have questions about the real value of the skincare products I purchase. They are expensive and I can afford them, but it's like, does this really need to cost that much?
The questions I ask myself all the time. Does it really need to cost that much though?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Okay, a purchase that felt scary but ended up being worth it.
Paying cash for my first car.
Oof.
Paying cash for my first car. Yeah. Most people borrow money for cars because they want to mask the true purchase price of the car. They don't want to think about taking that much money out of their net worth, when in reality, financing the car takes that much plus more, plus interest out. So the day I became a person who paid cash for cars was a terrifying and proud day.
Oh my goodness. Okay, a money habit that changed your life.
Automation.
Yeah. One sentence you wish every woman told herself about money.
It's safe for me to accumulate money in accounts that are titled to my name.
Oh, that's nice. That's a good one. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, Hilary, thank you so much for joining us. Tell me and tell the listeners where people can find you, follow you, all of the things.
Yeah, everything we do is at hendershottwealth.com, so you can check us out there. I have a YouTube channel that I'm paying a lot of attention to lately of the same name, Hendershott Wealth, and you can find me in your podcast player at Love Your Money.
Yay! Thank you so much for joining us, Hilary. I think this is like such an awesome, solid conversation about money. And Slay Nation, I hope maybe you've taken away at least like the system in which you can start. Remember, you got to decide first. It's all about just deciding and then doing something about it.
Look at you.
I know. It's like, I know what I'm talking about. Kind of. I don't know. Oh my gosh, Slay Nation, as always, thank you so much for listening. You can find us at So She Slays across all the socials, at SoSheSlays.com. And don't forget, March 2nd, we are launching our Patreon. And so you can head to the guest list at SoSheSlays.com. It is right there at the top. So She Slays, Unfiltered AF guest list. Sign up so that you can lock in that founder pricing. And join us on the conversations that are not streamed to everyone.